Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today I'm trying something that I have been wanting to try for quite some time. I finally got my hands on purchasing some of these gorgeous dies. Now, I kind of call these cutout dies because they have the outline die here that goes along with it, but they can cut out this gorgeous pattern. In this case, it is the Artisan Mosaic. This is the number 1. I know that they have some more, but I just got this one to sort of try out how I like these. Now, I am going to experiment a little bit today. I'm going to make 2 different cards for you, and I'm going to make them very different styles. Very different. So one is going to be sort of like clean and gorgeous and simple, and the other one's a bit vintagey and that kind of direction. So these are the 2, and I wanted to try them both out to sort of get a feeling for what they look like. I love that cutout look. Imagine putting lights behind these as well. So fun. Anyway, I've got 2 on this card here, and I want to make this into a card front. I quite like that. So this is the same die. I just turned it around. And I quite like that 2 of them fit on a card front together. So I'm going to trim this down, and this is going to be a card front. I'm actually not going to use the outline dies at all. That's not necessarily why I purchased these. I wanted the sort of cut out effect rather than the actual like an individual die that I could add the outline die to. So I'm just checking. Now I want there to be a really slim border around the outside, but I don't want the color to be behind the cutouts. I want that part to be white on white. So I could add some really thin strips of cardstock, I guess, but then there would be sort of cuts at the edges, at the corners. And so my solution was to just draw in some little pencil lines about where the edge of the card front was going to come to, and then I'm going to use some mint tape or some sort of masking, some of the Gina strips from the Masking Magic. That would work beautifully too. You could just use some copy paper that has low-tack adhesive on the back, or some removable adhesive on the back. You could use some post-it notes. All of the above is going to work perfectly fine. I'm using some mint tape, and I'm going to not only mask off the border, but then I'm going to use one piece of mint tape and create a really thin border. So I know you can't see it, but the pencil lines are what I am basing this on. So this is Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink, and that is because I know I want some purple on the front of my card. Purple is not a color that I reach for often, or probably gravitate towards. So when I see it and I think, okay, I need to challenge myself, and it's okay to go purple. So purple it is for this one today. And I do like this color. It is a very sort of soft, warm purple in my opinion. So now I have a gorgeous border all around the outside, and that means you're going to be able to see the border when I put on the card front, but you won't see it behind the white parts. Now you could have also used 2 rectangle dies on a piece of purple cardstock and run that through your die cutting machine to get a really slim border there. You could have used that as well, but the inking worked just as good for me. Now this set here, this is called the Peony Rose Stem by Lisa Horton Crafts, and this is a matching die, an embossing folder. So what I do is I tend to die cut out the shape first, then run it through my embossing folder, and then with the most simple of ink blending, we can get a gorgeous look for these. So I am going to trim this down just a little bit because this is a beautiful image. The one that I had already colored and stored in the back of my packaging was kind of what sent me off on this wavelength today, inspired me. So I'm just going to cut off some of the excess little pieces because I just want a gorgeous focal image for the front. Now I have a whole video. I think I have maybe 4 or 5 videos on using this set alone, but I have a whole video dedicated to just this really simple, easy technique and the dimension that we can get doing it using some ink. So I'm just going to mask off the flower portion because I want the bottom to be the leaves and the stem to be green or greens, and then I want the top to be the purple. So when they mix, they're going to get a little bit muddy, so I definitely don't want to mix them. And I'm just using some finger daubers because the area is pretty small. And I'm using peeled paint as my base color, and I kind of come in heavy with that. And then because of the embossing, if I come in lightly with my next color, which is going to be Mowed Lawn, it is only going to catch the raised parts of the embossing folder. And it's a little bit hard to see the dimension, but when I get a close up in just a minute, you will be able to see it. And then I'm going to do the same with the purple as well on the flowers. It's just so easy, and I really do like easy. As you can see, this is my attempt at masking. I just keep it very simple with some ripped pieces and, you know, good enough pretty much. And so I'm going to add a little bit of the shaded lilac, which is just a really light purple, and I go in sort of like, I press down medium heavy, and then with this one I'm coming in with the wilted violet, and I just want it to catch the raised portions, and then it looks like there's all of this gorgeous dimension. I think there actually is a stencil set that goes along with this. In fact, I think I've used it, and honestly I just find this a lot quicker. I think the stencil set would do a great job. I think it will look fabulous, but this is just nice and quick. So then I have from the Master Layouts 2, I've used these little banner dies here to get 2 of these. Then I just have a good hunt through my stash and find a little sentiment that is going to work well. This is the Pretty Flutterby Woodware set. It's just a really little set, and so it has a really good price point, and I've used these sentiments from those ones. Now these are the foam strips from scrapbook.com, and these are 1/8 of an inch wide, I believe, and I think they're 8 inches long. They're really handy, and this means that even with this tiny border, I can get right in there. Then when I need some thicker foam tape, instead of going to get a different size, I just put 3 of the strips together, and that will do the trick just fine. Wider, not thicker. And so this way you can see all of that gorgeous detail. It's nice and supported by all of that foam tape. If you're having trouble lining this up to get it nice and even, then make sure you can put some liquid glue on the back of the foam, and then that way you get that wiggle time when you are adjusting everything. But look at that gorgeous dimension through the cutouts, and I think that's exactly what I was after. It just looks stunning. Those gorgeous cutouts, the mosaic feature, and then this purple gorgeous little flower to go on the front. That's my focal point. Keeping this so super simple, clean, simple, beautiful. The white on white, I love that. I love the little pop of purple in the flower and the border. I think that brings it together nicely. I think you can definitely see the mosaic cut out beautifully in the background. It doesn't cover it up too much. I'm using a white gel pen to just do some highlights on some of the flower up there. Then I also have a Stardust jelly roll pen, and that is also going to be used to do some highlights. They shimmer a little bit more in the light when you turn them in things, so that's why I quite like the jelly roll Stardust. I believe they might be going out of production though, so I'm not sure. If I can find them and some shops still have them available, then I will pop a link down below in the description box below this video, and just in case you are still able to get them. But other than that, of course, I'll have all of the other items that will be down there, and that way you can sort of get a closer look, check things out if you need to. But here you can really see that Stardust pen when I move it around. Now we are going to change gears completely with this next one. So this is the one that I very first did when I was just sort of trialing them out and seeing what they looked like. And this time I am going to use the outline dies, and I'm going to cut this out. I'm using a little bit of mint tape because I really do want this one to stay nice and even as it rolls through the die cutting machine. I have a Big Shot die cutting machine, and it is great. It's basic. I love it. I went from a Cuttlebug to my Big Shot machine, and I loved my Cuttlebug. I loved it so much, and I used it every single day for probably 7 or 8 years, and then it broke, and that's okay. I replaced it with my Big Shot, and I do love that as well. So I have 2 of these ready to go. I will also add the outline die to this one here. All the little bits and pieces popped out. I was a little bit scared sometimes when with the different qualities of dyes and with the different pressure that your plates, and as they get more worn, it can make it tricky to get all those little intricate pieces, but these popped out like a dream. So I was grateful about that. It means that they're very good quality. And then I am going to turn this into a somewhat vintagey sort of style. That's what I was going for. I have some peacock feathers and cracked pistachio. Now, I am just going to add these 2 ink colors very randomly. This is really creating a background and a border, I guess, because some of it will get covered up. The border definitely will not. So I'm just using both of these colors to get just not even perfectly blended, just sort of getting the colors down there. And then once I've done that, I'm going to add a little bit of vintage photo, just with a finger dauber, and just sort of, I don't want too much ink on there. It's just to grunge it up, to vintage it up a little bit more than those gorgeous bright colors that were already there. Now, for the next step, I know that there are dyes out there that do this very, very well, and if you have them, then that's even better. But I have 2 fantastic tools on my arms called my hands that can do this job for me. I'm going to sort of tear little pieces off the edge here, and I kind of just use my thumbnail just to get a little bit. I want very, very little to create this sort of raggedy, worn edge, I guess. Just a little bit of texture, but I don't want to go too far in because this is pretty much the size that I need it. I have the ability to sort of, we can move it around, we can cut off a little bit if mistakes happen, or if we go a little bit too far in. Things can always be fixed, but in general, I'm trying to keep it just a little bit. Then, because I've created sort of new white cardstock in the core there, I will just go over with some of that vintage photo, that little finger dauber, and I will just cover up those sort of bright white spots, so to speak. Now, as I said, I don't have to worry about the middle too much because it sort of becomes the background, and we're going to put some layers on top of it, so you won't end up being able to see it super duper well. But there we go, that's pretty good. I like the sort of raggedy edge, the vintage, the worn look. I have a sheet of, I don't even know where this ephemera come from. It's in a big pile that I am determined to use up a little bit more of. I think this is adhesive backed as well, and so it reminds me of kind of Tim Holtzy style. I'm not sure though. And so I'm just going to do the same treatment to this piece, and then I'm also going to add a little bit more brown ink. Again, it's already has that feel to it, well and truly, but I'm just getting rid of those white edges that I have created. Then I'm going to peel off a corner of this and stick this down. I actually would have been fine if this was not adhesive backed. I quite like the white behind it, but it is what it is, and I have this weird thing about putting adhesive stickers on and not peeling them off if they are stickers. I don't know if that makes sense. And this was a little bit big. Obviously my measurements were a little bit off, so I'm just going to do this one side again. And as I said, this is what card making is about. It's not perfection. It is, if I went a little bit too far, or I didn't go far enough, or I cut something a bit small, we just make it work. We just sort of go with the flow, change it up. We can make this work. We can make anything work. We are card makers. And so I add a little bit more brown ink, again taking away all of those white edges. Now, out of one more piece of that same paper set that I have, I'm going to take 2 oval dies, and these are stacking dies, which are just one size bigger than the other, so just a very, very small border that they are going to create. Then I take the oval that I have cut out of the smaller die. Then I'm just using just a little fraction of the peacock feathers ink, just to give the flowers a tiny bit of color, a little bit, using these brushes. These brushes are absolutely fantastic for getting color into small spaces. If you've used an embossing folder and you want to color it in, I highly recommend these, even over top of finger daubers. They are absolutely fabulous. I'm coming in with the lighter color, cracked pistachio, and I'll just add a tiny little bit to the leaves. I really am not coloring in, just sort of adding a very light layer. Then I'm going to use the same 2 colors and color the border that I created. This was using the larger of the 2 oval dies, and then I will pop the smaller one on top of this. This one all comes together pretty quickly, honestly. It's sort of a matter of collecting dies and cuts and things, and then bringing them all together and assembling them. There wasn't too much that went into it apart from a bit of die cutting and things. So I will pop that on. Again, we're just layering, we're just giving borders. Then I put some foam tape on the back of that just to pop it up a little bit. I have got some double-sided tape stuck right there in the middle. Again, you're not going to end up seeing this. It's all going to be hidden, and this is what is going to help adhere down my two little pieces of mosaic cutouts here. Now, these are not identical and not perfect. I also think a doily would look really, really nice in behind here. A torn doily or half a doily, or I don't know, something like that. But I was using these cutouts and I really like this look. I like that they're versatile and I can use them as in a slightly different way as well. So I'm just placing everything sort of sitting there until I have it all in the right place, and then I will press everything down. There is a lot of turquoise and teal and things going on, so I love the sharp white look there of the cutouts, but I also think putting it onto a sharp white background is perfect too. Now this card actually ends up being 5 by 7 inches, so I'm enjoying using a little more real estate, a little more space to do things with, so I really enjoyed this process of a bigger card too. Now, if you would like to support my channel and support the 3 videos that I produce every single week for you, you can go over to the Buy Me a Coffee website. I would be very, very much appreciative of that. And of course, there will be links down below to all of the supplies and things that I have used in today's video in case you want to have a quicker look at things. But here are my 2 cards for today, and I had a whole lot of fun with these gorgeous dies. It's been something I've been wanting to try for a long time. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!